Morning, this is Ubish from the Freedom Geek team, and today I'm very happy to be with Jeff from Rocketbarn. It's very early in the morning for us. He's in Canada, I'm in Mexico, and thank you so much for being here, Jeff. So I'm going to be asking you a few questions. So why don't we start by telling us a little bit more about you and your project?
Sure, yes. So our company's been around for 10 years, Rocketbarn, and we actually went through an exciting rebrand just this year. So it's kind of a new company name for us, but we have been around for 10 years. And we are digital marketing. We're a digital marketing agency and support franchise businesses, helping them get found on Google, Facebook, help them generate more business, more leads. So yeah, we really love what we do. We really enjoy getting to know business owners that we work with. And yeah, it's crazy that we've been doing this 10 years. Time flies.
Yeah, always when you talk about the time, you're like, it's too fast. 10 years you already have a business. And how long you have been working with your VA from the Philippines?
Yes, about 6 months.
Okay, all right. So because it's a digital marketing agency, do you thought that this was maybe a step that you were going to do sooner or later to work virtually with someone?
Yeah, it's interesting. Primarily, our employees have always been, we've recruited them locally, and we had the mindset that, it was important for people to be in the office, and we kind of had a culture. A big part of our company has been building a strong culture and shared values, and big part of it is customer service. So I think our mindset and just what we always got used to was hiring people and having them in an office. And when COVID hit and all of the world changed, we all went remote. So even our local team all went remote. And I think that really opened up our realization that we can do this remotely. Yeah. And there was also, which I can get into a bit more later, but on the business development side and networking, there were a bunch of tasks that I needed support with. And that's kind of when the idea of a virtual assistant came up. So that's what led to it. But now my eyes are opened. I realize there's a lot of opportunity. We do love working with people all over the world. So I'm not sure why we didn't do this sooner. We should have.
I can see that. Question, what was your main concern when hiring a virtual assistant that it's not even in your same country, in your time zone? What was the main concern about that?
My biggest hesitation as a busy business owner, and I've worn lots of hats in our company too. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing was, how much time am I going to save? Is this thought of, is it going to be all this work to go get someone? And I tried a few times through other websites where you can just, hire someone directly. My experience was there was a lot of management work. If there was a language gap, or if there was just a lot of things that can go wrong. And I found it almost more work than benefit the first few times I tried it. So when I heard of Freedom Geek and the whole process of you guys pre-qualifying, finding the right candidates, that was a huge thing for me, that I went, okay, I'm going to try this again. And then my experience so far has changed my perception of kind of that VA.
Okay, so that's very interesting to know that you could compare other similar things, and then you found the difference with the Freedom Geek, right? Well, I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit more about that.
I was going to say, so I thought my options were do it myself, which works until there's too many things on your plate. Yeah. There's hire a person locally here. The challenge is it's a big commitment, and you have to have a whole role, and you have to commit to a pretty significant salary. You're committing to full time most of the time. So those were kind of the two options I had. And then the other option was find someone virtually, but you've got to source it. You've got to go on a website and find someone, which I heard lots of success stories from too. Every time I tried, it was difficult. I found it, I couldn't get the right person. And I went back to doing it myself often. So it was kind of this cycle, right? But yeah, I'm happy to share more about Freedom Geek because there was a lot of things that it simplified the process for me.
Okay, question, now that you mentioned that process, how much time do you think that you could have been saved if you just were like, oh, Freedom Geek, I'm just going to hire one of these guys compared to the time that you lost?
Well, right now I'm saving 4 hours a day. So that's significant. And it's a lot of tasks that I think they just wouldn't have happened. So I think as a business owner, for me, you get excited about different opportunities. You want to try things, but you're often, I think of like a little kid sports team, maybe with soccer or football. I guess maybe for you in Mexico, it'd be called football. But when they're really young, everyone just chases the ball, right? It's you're always going wherever things are. And a lot of small business owners, for me too, it's like that. There's, here's an opportunity. Here's an opportunity.
Yes.
And there isn't strategy. There isn't a game plan. And I think as you build and grow, it's important to delegate and say, okay, you are a defender now. That's your position. Or you are a striker, or you are a goalie. And I think the nice thing about the virtual assistants is you can parse out little pieces of the task and it's lower risk, right? So for example, I took all of the LinkedIn work of finding people I wanted to connect with, and 4 hours a day, someone is doing that. Whereas if I did it maybe for a week, the next week I got distracted with something else, or I got busy with something else and I would stop doing it. So yes, there's time saved, but I would say there's consistency that happens in the business that leads to better results, because you need to be consistent. You need to continue to do the right things to get the results. So yeah, it's easy to say that and you'd go, well, every owner should do that, but there's just so many things that come at you in a day. So yeah, I think virtual assistant just makes it a lot easier to delegate and lower risk to try things out. Yeah.
As a small cultural exchange, because you mentioned that about the football, in Mexico, we actually have a saying for that. No, don't be like chickens. No, because when you feed chickens, every chicken goes there, no, and you move and every chicken goes there. So that's how we compare it in football with feeding chickens.
That's funny, because we almost have a saying like chickens with your head cut off, where you're just running all over too. But no, that's interesting. Exactly. Feeding chickens, that's cool. Everyone just goes right to the spot, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So with the tasks that you delegate to the virtual assistant, I have a question. It's exactly the same task that you delegate at the beginning, or they have been changing and adapting to other chores that you have?
Changing and adapting, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So we're still working on the same platform. The focus is LinkedIn and generating leads and supporting us with our business development. But our strategy has evolved. We've learned a lot. And I think as we build confidence with our virtual assistant, then giving her more responsibility or new tasks, and that's really expanded. We started out with 2 hours a day, and we're working up to 8 hours a day now.
Oh wow, that's pretty good. That's great. And any tips that you will tell anyone who is thinking to hire a virtual assistant that you could just help them?
Yeah, well, these came from Freedom Geek, truthfully, when I heard these tips, but I'll just validate them because they really worked. One was to do a weekly check-in. Don't set it and forget it. Like, keep the relationship warm. So we do a quick 30-minute call once a week just to check in. And so that I think is important, just to keep the relationship building, ask questions. Yeah. And another thing is keep raising the bar. So keep things interesting. Don't just have the same mundane task happening over and over again. But what I found was I started to create some new challenges. I'd say, okay, you accomplished this week. Well, what about this week, going a little bit bigger? And I found every single time I did that, the virtual assistant was very engaged. It was more fun. And yeah, it just kind of built the relationship. So don't be afraid to challenge them. I think it would be one feedback I'd have, but doing it in a smart way. And I'd always ask, how are you doing? Is there a way that we could do this better? And there was a lot of ideas that she would share with me too. So it's kind of a two-way relationship that way. Yeah. But someone had shared that as feedback, and that really worked on our end.
So now it sounds that it's not just hiring someone else to do the chores that you don't want, but more like building a bigger team, no? Like a more international team, no?
Absolutely, totally. I mean, that's always been a dream of mine. I've always wanted to have an international team. I've traveled, so it's always been a dream and something I wanted to do. But then it's kind of like, well, how do you start, and how do you kind of create that? So this was definitely a good starting point. And yeah, you're right. There's that relationship's growing, and I think I'm seeing all the different opportunities now where I could use a virtual assistant to support with that. And so the list starts to grow and grow in what I think is possible with a virtual assistant.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that. Any message for the entrepreneurs out there?
Don't go to the feed. No, I'm kidding. Using your chicken analogy.
Yeah.
I would say that I think I get the pain. I understand how difficult it is to keep up with everything and the demands that come on you, especially in those early years. I'm just now at 10 years starting to see the growth, and we have a bigger team. So I'm starting to experience more focus in my job and doing the things I love. But I think if I would have talked to myself 5 years ago, I would have definitely encouraged, look into this virtual assistant opportunity. Yeah. Don't just have one thought of what it can be. Be open to the different possibilities. And yeah, the more you delegate the things that can then stay consistent. And a lot of times I think people spin their tires. They try a lot of things, but never long enough to actually see the results. And so I think this is a more cost-effective way to do that, and lower risk. So yeah, I think that's the big thing. I wish I had done that more often. And we work with a lot of small business clients. A lot of our customers are small business owners. And I've been sharing about this, my experience, and saying to them, hey, like, you can get a virtual assistant to help with that. So my mindset is changing.
That's great to hear. Congratulations for those 10 years. That you mentioned that, it reminded me to a saying that it's, you didn't came this far to only come this far.
It's a good one. It's true. No, I mean, that's where we're at right now. It was a milestone, and obviously with the pandemic and stuff, it hurt our business, but we go, okay, we're here. We built something we're proud of. We want to go to that next level. And yeah, we're not planning on sitting back this year. We're going for a big growth year and continuing to build what we have. It's in our name. I mean, Rocketbarn, rocket stands for going to the moon, right? We're not going to hold back. Go for the stars and dream big. And then barn represents not forgetting where you came from, you know, the rootedness, the grounded, and bringing our values along. So we picture kind of looking at the moon, and, you know, we've landed on the moon, but there's a silhouette of a barn, and we brought our traditions and we brought things that mattered to us along with us.
I love that concept. Thank you for explaining, actually, because I was wondering, Rocketbarn, is this a word in English that I don't understand? Or
no, it's 2 words, and they're very simple words. I know, that's good. It's good feedback. Some people, it's kind of like jarring. Other people get it right away. They kind of see the juxtaposition of the 2 words. They're so different, but they mean together, they mean a lot to us. Yeah.
That's great. Well, if anyone wants to find you, in which social media are you, how they can find you, what's your website?
Yes. So LinkedIn will be where I'm the most active. So they can just search Jeff Horst. Rocketbarn. The other cool thing is there's no other Rocketbarn out there. So, and they can also go to rocketbarn.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. More success and more work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. This is fun, and I love what you guys do. I honestly have referred so many people to Freedom Geek. I think it's a great concept. It's I love businesses that solve problems and, do good work. You guys check those boxes.